Hey there, I'm Grace.
And I'm Amelia.
And welcome to the Women Invest in Real Estate podcast, where we talk about getting started in real estate, scaling, and we give you the inside scoop about our day-to-days as full-time investors. Have you thought about joining the community? We've created a membership for female aspiring and existing real estate investors. Included is a monthly masterclass from an industry expert, a monthly live Q&A with Amelia and I, and a community dashboard for networking and asking questions. Sign up at womeninvestinrealestate.com/the-community. Welcome to episode 3. Today's episode is a behind-the-scenes look into both of our businesses and what we're currently up to. So Amelia, what are you currently working on right now?
Great question. So I haven't bought a property. Well, actually, I just bought a property in West Des Moines, a duplex, but I didn't have to do a single thing to it. So I never really think about it as a purchase. But previous to that, I hadn't bought a property since August of 2021. So I'm currently in the works of purchasing a dilapidated triplex in my small hometown. It needs pretty much a full gut and a lot of exterior work. The way that I found this triplex was I had someone apply for one of my other rental units. And the reason that he put for moving from his current residence was that his current landlord was selling the property. And so I figured out who that landlord was, and I reached out to him and asked if he had any other properties that he was looking to sell.
Did you know him before this? Did you know of him?
No, surprisingly, I'd never heard of him. It's a small town. So I think my parents had maybe heard of him before, but I didn't know him. He's an older man, probably in his 60s. So I found his phone number. It's a landline, so it's been a little tricky to get a hold of him, but he was interested in selling this other property. So I met him and took a look at the property and then waited about a week and just submitted a seller finance offer to him. So yes, so the offer was $48,000 on a 5-year term, 5 equal payments of around $9,600. And then obviously we would have no early prepayment penalty because the plan with the property would be to fix it up and then BRRRR it out. So we would refinance into a conventional mortgage after all of the rehab was done. So I just heard back from him yesterday and he countered at $50,000. And he will take the old shed in the back down for me. So he came up $2,000 in price to include taking the shed down, which to me, $2,000 doesn't move the arrow at all. Right. So
especially on a seller financed deal. So I have a question. Is your first installment, that $9,600, the day you close or a year after the day you close?
It's the day we close. So that first installment essentially acts as the down payment. And another thing I want to note is when I pitched the seller financing, I did not include any interest. So it's pretty much a 0% interest, 5 equal installments over 5 years. It's a pretty good deal in my opinion, because we'll have the rehab done in 6 to 12 months and then be able to refinance out of it.
So does he know that you will probably just refinance it?
I haven't told him that yet, but I'll tell him here probably today when I call him back. And I don't really see that being an issue. Honestly, worst case scenario, if he's like, no, I want the payments over 5 years because of tax purposes, 0%. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. I wonder if it makes more sense on paper to not refinance it. If you would, unless interest rates are going up, then you would want to refinance it.
Yeah.
Which they are.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what the monthly mortgage would be if you took 96,000 divided by 12, because that's, True. That would function as the mortgage, which would cut into cash flow a little bit, but
it's like $750-ish.
It's not going to make that big of a difference one way or the other.
What is it going to rent for when it's all fixed up?
Yeah. So 50,000 purchase price, most likely it's probably going to need around 50 to 60 in rehab. And I think that we'll be able to refinance it. It'll probably appraise for like 115 to 120. And then rent roll will be around 1875.
Are you going to do long-term or are you going to midterm?
I think I'm going to do long-term just because it's a small town. And so there is a little bit of a market for midterm rentals there, but I don't know yet. Maybe one of the units will try out midterm, but.
Well, I have an open property right now and I was talking to my parents about it and they said, why don't you do a midterm rental on it? And for me, I was like, it's a really big property. And so I don't want to furnish it. And I was like, I love midterm rentals, but there's something to be said to be said for the stability of still having long-term rentals, which makes me feel good at night. So that one I'm going to do long-term.
That's the other thing too, is like, this is my hometown and there's a major housing shortage there. And so it feels good to be able to provide housing to the community, because this triplex, one of the units is currently rented, but the other two probably haven't been livable for 15 years, which just kills me, because there is such a housing shortage that there's perfectly good properties sitting around that could be lived in if they were fixed up.
So what do you think? He just bought it for cash and just never got around to fixing it up?
Yeah, I see this all the time, is like these older men will he bought it like 30 years ago for nothing on contract. He bought it on contract.
Okay.
And he had plans of fixing it up and renting it out, but he also has a full-time job, so just never got around to it. And then kind of just like used it as a storage unit for all of his junk. And then once it gets full, it's like even more of a hassle to
clear it out.
Yeah.
And when you don't have a mortgage payment that hurts to pay every month, I can see how you maybe forget about it.
Exactly. And he has one tenant in there right now that's probably covering, his property taxes or whatever else.
Oh, true. He does have one tenant. Well, that's kind of like how Tian and Justine at our retreat, they were looking at a multifamily and it had 15 units and one had a tenant. And it had been like that for years. And they said it seemed like it was the same situation where an older guy went and bought it for cash and just never really got around to it. Yeah. Which is just insane.
I know it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know what the thought process is there, but like with this property, I think he bought it for maybe 20,000. So it's like such a low cost that it doesn't really.
And when you have to come up with another 20, 30, 40, 50 to fix it up, it's easy to just not do it.
Yeah. And of course he was going to DIY everything. So then on top of that, trying to find the time to actually do that when he has a full-time job, plus he's a farmer. So he farms also. It's just like,
yeah, wow.
He's never. So
are you partnering with your parents? You kept saying we.
Yes. So I'm going to partner with my parents on this, mainly because they have a line of credit through the bank that is a 6% interest. So we're going to use that to fund the down payment and the rehab. So it's essentially no money out of our pocket. Yeah. And we don't even have to make interest payments on that during the course of the loan until a year has gone by. And then
that's nice.
So it's a really good deal, and it's better than any hard money or private money lender that we can get. I also like partnering with them because they can have eyes on the property since they still live in the town.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What about you? What do you have going on?
So we have our 8 unit. It's so funny. I always want to call it the 11 unit because you have an 11 unit. So I always want to say that, but it's not 11 units. It's 8 units.
You're not as cool as I am.
I'm not as cool as you are. I tried to copy you. I only got 8, not 11. But so this one we bought it back in December. So we have been fixing it up for 6 months, DIY. We have rehabbed each unit as it has turned over. And right now we have 3 units left, but they're empty. So we're like working on all 3 at once.
Remind me, are they all going to be midterm?
They're all going to be midterm because this is so close to the hospital and they're 1 and 2 beds. And just like my 1 bed requests on Furnish Finder are insane.
Yeah.
And the good thing is we have to rehab them no matter what. And the rehab doesn't change whether it's long-term and midterm. So might as well do it while it's going great and there's a lot of demand. So we have 2 1 beds we're fixing up right now. I think I'm going to start furnishing one of them in a couple days.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Do you have the furniture ordered yet?
I've got the furniture ordered. It's probably all on my deck right now, at my front door. I need to order another round of furniture for the second one. I'll probably furnish that one next week. And then the third one is a 2-1 and we haven't started DIYing that. We'll hire the painting out. We have been hiring the painting out, which has been amazing.
That is nice. I know how you love to paint.
Oh my God. I always laugh because remember how I put on my schedule for my very first WIIRE that I was going to paint this 2-story unfinished basement house in a weekend. And it took me a month.
Yeah.
So I'm not very good at paint timelines, but we hired that out. My cleaner is the one who's painting. That's who I was just texting. And she's a flat paint rate.
That's nice.
$35 an hour, which I have found, I think is totally worth it. And they do a good job. So she'll start painting that last unit probably end of this week, next week. That one is pretty much paint. And then the kitchens are teeny, teeny, tiny. So to like do a new kitchen is like literally nothing. Mm-hmm. It's like a piece of countertop and one base cabinet for the sink and a new sink. So we'll do that and then we'll furnish it. And I hope to have them all done by, I think I listed that like in my head. I've been listing that one as like mid-July, like second or third week of July. And then the last thing we have to do is we have to do new windows and siding. So this 8 unit is really 2 fourplexes right next to each other. One of the fourplexes is 1 bed. The other fourplex is 2 beds. But the thing with that is we have tenants, and to reside, a lot of our tenants sleep during the day because they're nurses. So I think I'm just going to say like, here's the deal. I can either get you a hotel room for 2 days or I'll just pay you like $100 for the hassle.
Yeah, that's a great
What
idea.
do you want to do? Yeah. And hopefully they'll be understanding. The tenants we have right now are pretty good. So I think they'll be cool with it. I am nervous. That's stressing me out a little bit just because it's a lot of juggling, like 3 different people, possibly 4 if we get that 4th one moved in before we finish it.
Are you hiring out the siding and the windows?
Yes.
Okay.
Same company. So they had to be done at the same time. And for some reason, this fourplex has like 40 windows, not actually, but like it has an insane amount of windows. So we're actually taking a bunch of windows out because we save like $500 a window that we don't replace. And because we pay for the utilities, since they're all midterm rentals, we get that efficiency back, but you have to mud and drywall, which takes 3 days for every
window
for every window. Mm-hmm. So even if I could do the siding when they're at work, I still have to get in there, not me, but whoever we hire has to get in there 3 days in a row to sand and mud and then paint. So I'm a little stressed out about it, but I think our tenants will be good to work with us, and we'll just make sure that we give them like a gift card as a thank you or just put them up in a hotel room. So.
Yeah. I think they'll be fine with that.
Yeah.
Do you have a finish date in mind?
I need to email my banker. I've heard that multifamily appraisals right now are out. Like in our local Facebook group, somebody said like 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, I would say that's
so. I need to email her like right now and just say, hey, we're about 6 weeks out. Mm-hmm. I would like to get it appraised end of July.
Yeah, have her order the appraisal now so that it'll be done.
And then also hopefully lock in our rate. I don't know. Do banks typically hold a rate for 4 weeks or?
I'm not sure.
I need to ask her that.
I don't think they'll hold it until you sign on the dotted line.
Well, I know they'll do like a rate lock, but it only lasts.
That's true. Not like maybe 30 days.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's probably 4 weeks. So I'll also see where she's at for rates. And and then what I need to do for that appraisal is just make sure I have like all my numbers together, all of my income, like make it look really, really pretty for the appraiser so that they can give me top dollar.
Yes. And then be there to schmooze them up.
And schmooze them. Yeah. And the cool thing is that since they are midterm rentals and I furnish them, they're all going to look nice. Mm-hmm. And that goes a long ways.
Absolutely helps.
In the eyes of the appraiser. So I'm also going to tell all my tenants like, hey, someone's walking through, if you could just tidy up. They're super small units. So like, it's not going to be a mess, but
I would require that they have the place picked up.
Yeah.
Somehow.
So I'm nervous, but I'm excited. I think the appraisal will go well. It should be a perfect burr, knock on wood. But I'm excited. It seems like it's been going forever, and it will be such a relief to have this project done because we have nothing else in the pipeline, which is crazy.
You have the rest of the summer.
I know. And then we can have the rest of the summer to be like, okay, what are we now doing? Or what are we pursuing for deals? Not to mention we are going to go on vacation.
Yes. I'm excited for you. Well, I have one more story and then I think we'll wrap the episode up, but this is kind of just a funny little story. So if you know a little bit about my investing background, I invest in my hometown, like we've talked about. So everybody knows everybody there. It's about 5,000 people. So my parents are purchasing their neighbor's home because they would like to have control of that property and who lives there and make sure that the yard is clean. Because my parents, they're tired of looking at a dirty yard because the tenants now don't keep up with their yard very well. Well, we posted it the other day on Facebook for rent and had a lot of inquiries. And my parents even had a few people show up to their front door with cash in hand.
Oh my gosh.
Very inappropriate, in my opinion.
Yeah.
My parents knew them. So they were saying, well, cash talks, doesn't it? I have the cash right here. Can I move in? And that is such a red flag when you are renting out a property. People that want to pay you immediately and get in immediately and have, say, well, I have cash available right now. It's like, well, what are you running from? Do you not want me to do a background check? Do you not want me to contact your current landlord? Like, what is going on behind the scenes? Needless to say, we already found a really great tenant. So we took the post down, but wild to me that people would show up.
That is crazy. And I agree with you, because I posted our house for rent earlier this week. And I have people who are like, want to move immediately. And I'm like, why? Like, are you being evicted?
Exactly.
It's kind of a double-edged sword, because you do want someone who's not going to move in 4 weeks, but you don't want someone. But when you do have someone who's like, I want to move immediately, it's like, why?
Exactly. And that's why on my rental my pre-application, I always, ask where they're currently living and then the reason why they're moving. And of course, people can write anything that they want on there. It gives me some sort of an idea, like, okay, they need a bigger space or relocating for work or whatever it might be. But like if someone wants to move in immediately, I also am like, well, you're not giving your current landlords like the courtesy of a 30-day notice. So are you going to do the same thing to me eventually?
That's a good point. And one last tip that I heard, which I thought was so smart, is if you think for some reason that somebody might be faking a landlord reference, is when you call to always say, hey, do you have any units available? And if they're like, what are you talking about? You know that it's a fake reference. Whereas if it's a true landlord, they're going to either tell you yes or no. They're going to know exactly what you're talking about.
Never even thought of that. But
I know, isn't that smart? I've not done it, but I have heard people say that.
Yeah.
So they don't just put their friend for all their references.
Yes, definitely. But I also will cross-check if they say my landlord is James Smith. I'll get on the assessor website and look up who actually owns the property. And if it's different than who they've written down, that's another red flag.
That's what I do. I was just doing that a couple of days ago for all their references, because it was all in Iowa. So I knew the counties off the top of my head. And she said she owned a place. So I was like, and for me, I'm like, maybe that's a chance for somebody to lie. So I don't do a reference. But she owned it. Everything checked out. She looked like a great tenant. So I gave her a tour and we'll see.
Yeah. So that's going to wrap up episode 3 today. Thank you so much for joining us on this behind the scenes look at our real estate investing businesses. And we'll catch you in the next one.
Thanks.
Thanks so much for tuning in. If you loved today's episode, please leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcasts. And don't forget to check us out and join our community at womeninvestinrealestate.com and follow us on Instagram at WIIRE with 2 eyes.community.